I couldn't bring these boots all the way to Houston and not wear them twice. So had to throw this out here. I wanted to start by giving you all a round of applause. I have to admit, there's more people here than I thought, which is amazing. So give yourselves a round of applause for being here. We're almost done with Degreed Lens, and I'm just so honored to be part of the wrap-up as we near the end here. So I got to announce the winners yesterday with my partner in crime, Spencer, and today we get to talk through their stories. So we're gonna hear from BNY Mellon, Exodus, and TD Bank about their stories, and I'm really excited to dive into the stories. But just a sneak peek, at the end, we're gonna open up the floor for questions, so get that noggin turning and love to hear from you. But first, last year, we announced the Learner of the Year award went to Lynette from Ford. So we're gonna watch her video and her story, and then we're gonna bring her on stage to hear a little bit about what her last year has been. So enjoy this incredible video.
Okay, so what I wanted to share with you all today is what Manasa and I have been working on. All data sources that are a part of the single mapping, that's consistency. One of my peers said that I have a kick-ass title. I am a generative AI specialist and product owner, and I just recently got promoted to LO6. And this is my team.
We deliver a search engine for technicians that work in dealerships. So customers that need repair on their vehicles have a more seamless experience and get a faster turnaround.
We are the enhanced search of PTS. That would benefit them then, right?
Yeah.
I come from a hardworking family. My father was a UAW worker. My mother was a hairdresser. I decided to go into the Air Force, and my recruiter pushed me to go into computers because he said you could use that when you get out of the military. I was in manufacturing IT for about 12 years, and I felt like I could do the job in my sleep. I needed a challenge. Updating the Swagger document is important for the user experience.
She was in a totally different part of Ford, and then from there she moved into GDIA, which is more techie computer science.
It was time to do something I wanted to do, not something I had to do. I used to build huge spreadsheets, and I just loved manipulating it and visualizing it. It's doing what's best for all the customers, not just one. Ford is really interested in investing in their employees, and they do that with these learning platforms. I received the Degreed Learner of the Year award because of my innovative way in how I learned and my commitment to lifelong learning. I changed the trajectory of my career.
That makes me think that, okay, maybe I can push myself and go beyond.
Excellence to me means getting better at what you do. The advice that I would give to someone is to be comfortable with change and to come out of your comfort zone. It's okay to be out of your comfort zone.
I know, nobody move.
Technology is always advancing, and learning is a big, important part of keeping up with that technology, and she's doing that, and it inspires the rest of us to keep pace and keep learning.
All right, and she's here, yes. And she's here, so please welcome to the stage, Lynette. So it's your second lens. How's it going?
Great. I'm glad to be back. I had a great time last year, not just because of the award, though.
Right, right. I know. I was like, we need again, learning, amazing year. So awesome. Well, I want to talk, I was going to do an intro, but that basically gives it all for us. So tell us a little bit. I've heard that since you've won the award, you've kind of landed your dream job. Tell me about that.
I did. I landed my dream job. I prepared for it using Degreed, right? And I was able to leverage what I learned on Degreed during the interview, and the hiring manager was really impressed, and he offered me the job. So that was the first thing, right? I got the job using Degreed. So it was my dream job working in data science.
So what's your official title right now?
My official title now is Product Owner and Generative AI Specialist.
Whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. You heard the video.
Yes.
Kick-ass title.
Yeah, exactly.
Kick ass.
Kick ass is right.
Yeah.
Kick ass suit too. That's
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Are we allowed to say that word? Well, we're going to. All right. Well, we'll continue on. Now I'm just curious, it's been a year. What have you been learning since then? And then what's on schedule for your year ahead? You got to keep the trajectory going.
Yes, I know. I've already set the standard, right? So after landing my dream job, I realized that I really needed to start learning or improving my communication skills, okay? Because technical jobs, when you start going into leadership, you have to learn how to, or you need to know how to talk technical to non-technical people, right? You need to know how to, master that skill. And so I went to Degreed again to help me in learning how to improve my communication skills, my presentation skills, the soft skill stuff.
Right.
And so I was been preparing for that, unbeknownst to me that I'd be here presenting or even talking in front of a large group, which I want to say 2 years ago, I would never have done it. Right. Never. So I thank Degreed for giving me the platform or the ability to do the searching for all of the training I needed to take to prepare me for presentations and speaking in front of large crowds.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect example of career and skill growth in 2 years, right? Like years ago, you wouldn't have been on stage, and look at you now. This is amazing.
I know.
So
right?
very, very cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I challenge everyone, like, where were you all 2 years ago? Like, what are the skills have you developed that you're doing today that you would have had no concept? So that's very cool. But on that note, and we'll wrap with this, as Michelle Weiss said this morning, the concept of time poverty. How do you make time to learn and have a commitment to it? It seems like that's something you've really found a way to work into your life. Like, what are your secrets?
Well, first, I have a growth mindset, right? I feel like the best of me is yet to come. So with that, I've come to believe that lifelong learning is going to be a part of my life. Just like you work out, you have to exercise your mind, right? And learning helps you do that. So It's part of my routine, just like I go to the gym and work out.
Right.
And I have to set, I do things big. I don't like to do things small. So part of me is doing things on a different level. And so I had to kind of tailor back a little bit because I do have to work. I can't just learn all day, right? So I have to set, some achievable goals. And I have some Friday afternoons Ford gives us to power up and use that time just to dedicate it for training. And so I have that, being in leadership, sometimes you don't get as much time to, that gets taken away from you, but I do try to stick to that Friday afternoons now.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the training the way I used to do it, which is on the go.
On the go.
On the go.
Right.
Yeah. In the car, wherever I was looking at my Degreed app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that something Ford does company-wide?
Yes,
Dedicates?
company-wide.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it's, being in leadership, having a team, having all these priorities, you block calendar time to learn, but it's the first to get pushed, right? And so how do you stay really dedicated and consistent to it? So any other tactics you use to just make sure you continue to learn and grow, and where do you hope to be a year from now?
Where do I see myself a year from now? I don't know. Another job.
Yeah,
maybe, but still within the same company,
right.
I hope.
Right. Keep the
but
rocket
doing
going.
Something different. I like to try to do something different every couple years.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Which triggers growth in itself. So
exactly, that growth mindset, always getting better at what you do.
Fantastic. Well, I heard you have a flight to catch.
I do.
So we're going to make this short and sweet and give her one more huge round of applause, and we'll see you next year. Fantastic. And now on to this year's winners. So if TD Bank, Exodus, and BNY Mobile could welcome me on stage, we'll dive into their stories. Hello, hello. So, unlike most people who spoke at Lens, they've had months to prepare. They've had dry runs. They've had prep sessions. They've had Q&A, all the above. These folks learned last week that they were maybe going to be a finalist, and there may be a panel coming up, and then officially last night that they were the gold winners. So we're going to just do this on the fly, but that's how I like to do things. So I'm excited to dive in. So let's start with some introductions. I'd love to just know some basics. Name, role, company. And then my fun question is what's something you've learned in the last 30 days?
So my name is David Weller. I lead our enterprise design and digital learning experience team at TD Bank. Name, role, and something I learned in the last 30 days?
Yeah, that's it.
So the last 30 days, what I've been learning a lot about is pain points across our HR function that our colleagues think generative AI can really lean in and solve for. So we've been brainstorming, we've been trying to identify 1 to 2 pain points across various HR functions, and then with the goal of eventually engaging our innovation team to test and iterate on some of those things. So,
Well, fantastic. Okay. Next to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Judy Arruda, and I'm with BNY Mellon, which is an investment services company, celebrating 240 years
Wow.
there, by the way. I'm with the Corporate Learning and Development Department, and I'm a learning partner. And when I was learned something, I was thinking about this, and it's not as good as yours, David, but I learned how to patch holes in a wall. It doesn't sound impressive unless you've never done it before.
It is.
So I did learn how to do it, and when I told my daughter, she wasn't impressed, but I'm impressed that I learned how to do it. So.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dmitry Shevchenko. I'm online learning and development manager at Exynos. What did I learn? I learned how to run Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, you know. Usually people had this experience when they're 14, but I think that my 32 is a good age to cover this gap.
Yes. Fantastic. And I'm Michelle, our chief of staff here. Something I learned in the last 30 days is how to get a toddler, a 1-year-old, off of a bottle, off of formula, and onto solids, and still learning how to do sleep. So if anyone has tricks, that would be great. All right, TD Bank, we're going to start with you. So you won gold for the Business Performance Program of the Year. So would you mind just telling us a little bit about the program you ran, and I'll ask a few questions.
So the program we were recognized for was called Future Now. And Future Now is a program that has been designed to build and deploy learning content enterprise-wide across our 95,000 colleagues, focused on skills that have been identified and prioritized as the most important at TD to help our colleagues and help the bank meet its objectives both today and into the future. So that's the Future Now program that we were recognized for. And then there was a second part of that question, I think, or no?
Oh, you nailed it. Great. I was going to say, ask a few questions. So, to get a program with 95,000 employees, it requires a ton of organizational alignment and meeting organizational objectives. How did you do that? How did you get everyone on the same page?
Yeah, well, so it's a good question because it took a while to figure out. When we first launched Agreed, we were like, can we just deploy pathways aligned to priority skills across the organization? And then the question was, well, who owns those skills? And the answer was, well, we don't really know. So we had to figure that out. So anyway, to answer the question, there's 2 parts to the answer. One is there is an enterprise learning framework that was designed that underpins the strategy for Future Now. So that framework has 4 pillars. The first pillar is 1 TD, which means any topic or content that we build has to have relevancy across the 25 business lines that we support and has to be aligned to bank strategy. So that's the 1 TD pillar. We had a colleague growth pillar, which was really about supporting our colleagues in developing skills aligned to performance-based outcomes. The next was the adoption pillar, which was really any type of communication approach that we put in front of our colleagues. We wanted to tie it back to the why. Why are we doing this, and why are we saying this is important for colleagues across the organization? And then the last pillar was measured outcomes. So really trying to understand what are the outcomes we're driving towards, and how is that tying back to both individual business line and bank objectives. So that was one. And then just really quick, at the same time, we knew that our OE and future workforce team were having strategic conversations with our senior executives, prioritizing what are the skills that we need to focus on. So it wasn't just us operating in a small L&D unit. We actually had to extend across HR, reach out across and build partnerships to understand, the strategic conversations that were happening, the skills that were being aligned on at a senior level, and then that informed our roadmap in terms of the content that we built.
Wow, no shortage of complexities there. And you're easy to add that to a sentence, but like talk about the meetings that were involved, the people that were involved, the stakeholders, the opinions. That's really, really amazing to see the outcome that you end up having. So talk a little bit, it's kind of my last question, then we'll move on, is how do you make that an adaptive program? How do you set that up for future success, right? It's one thing to say, hey, I want to launch a program and it's going to be stagnant, great, but with geographical constraints, you've got many different learning styles with AI coming in. What's your plan for an adaptive first approach?
Yeah, so two quick things on that, I guess. One is we're actually in the second year of Future now, and after the first year we paused, we listened to our learners, we sort of were trying to understand what those pain points were, and the pain points were three. It was time, not surprising, it was time.
Yep.
It was simplification, and it was application. So as we went into year two, we really came up with some best practices from a time perspective. We said any pathway that we're deploying for Future Now, which we deployed at beginner, intermediate, and advanced level, has to be an hour or less, has to be chunked out into 15-minute chunks. And at the beginning of the pathway, we actually also provide guidance to say, if you're thinking about calendaring this and wanting to work towards completion, here are a few options from a calendaring perspective that you should follow in order to actually get to completion of this pathway. So that was the time piece. The simplification piece, we designed short 5-question assessment that really was quick and easy to understand, but help provide the learner with guidance to say, hey, you know what, you don't have to start in the beginner pathway, maybe you start in the intermediate or the advanced pathway. So those assessments were built up front to guide the learner journey. And then the last piece was application. We found that during the first year, a lot of the content in our pathways were really just based on knowledge and sort of information, but not really focused on, okay, take that knowledge and now apply what you've learned. So we put some action learning and some sustainment activities in the pathway in order to drive sustainment and engagement of the learning. And then the very last piece, the second piece to that is we actually stood up a learning pod that is dedicated to Future Now and that can operate in an agile fashion and sort of respond to business needs as and when they arise.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, thank you for that overview. On to you, Judy. All right, so BNY launched or got the Learning Technology Launch of the Year award, which was an exciting one. And rumor is you launched 7 weeks ago this fantastic program. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what the launch was.
Yeah, so we're 7 weeks old today, launching to the firm.
Happy 7-week birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so leading up to this, and we did it in less than a year. We really started probably working on it in earnest in the April-May timeframe, and we took an agile approach. So we worked, we had 10 work streams focused on this. It wasn't just learning and development folks. We made sure we had the right partners from the business, technology, communications, et cetera. We worked in sprints. We tracked it using the Jira tool, if anybody's familiar with that.
Love that.
So to help keep us on track. And we did do some early launches. We had a group of early adopters, and we launched to certain businesses last year when we got feedback from that. But yeah, so far it's been great. It's been pretty successful. We know the communication, the constant communication is key, but we're at about 50% adoption rate
Okay.
with a good amount of returning users on a regular basis. So Yeah, we're really happy about it.
Great, some early wins. Fantastic. And when we were speaking and when I read your case study, I think there's a lot also talking about alignment with business strategy, right? Similar thing to we just talked about with TD. What was your strategy? How did you tackle it with your senior team?
Yeah, so at BNY Mellon, we have these 3 corporate strategic pillars that guide, everything we do. We have be more for our clients, run our business better, empower our culture. Empower our culture is really all about talent. So it's about investing in the talent that we have, attracting talent. So Degreed, bringing in Degreed as that learning platform, just aligned perfectly with that.
Totally.
And really, one of the reasons, there were many, but one of the reasons we wanted this learning experience platform, because we, like most before that, were on a learning management system, an LMS, was feedback that we would get from our employees about, I don't know where to go to find my learning, I have to go to different places, it's confusing. So just one of the great things that's already happened is Degreed is our front door to all learning for the organization. And that aligns with investing in the talent, investing in Degreed, and having something to attract talent as well.
Awesome. I did not pay her to say that. That's super exciting. Thank you for that. Awesome story. It's that consolidation. The single experience is just important from an admin side and a user side. So, I wanted to dive a little bit more on the cross-functional collaboration. I think one of my mantras is that we always start with A, here's the problem we're solving, and here's the problem that was solved. We forget about B through Y, right? That's a good segue to BNY Mellon, but actually, I didn't even plan that. So the B through Y, right? Like all the nitty gritty that has to go into planning a launch over the last about year. So, you did sprints, you had a team. How big was the team? What were some of the other things you structured? What roadblocks did you have to launch?
So the work streams were the key, right? And different sizes depending upon the work stream. But they, like I said, they weren't just learning and development folks. We had our technology folks as part of certain work streams. We had our corporate communications, corporate marketing. We had our colleagues in other areas of human resources, HR. We had people from the business even as part of that. And one of the key things we had too was a kind of a senior level steering committee that we, had to keep honest with. We kept reporting into them, letting them know. We took their steer depending on certain things. The roadblocks are the typical roadblocks. We thought something was going to work technology-wise, and we're like, no, we have to problem solve that, right? Yeah. But everybody jumped in. We looked ahead. We didn't just look at initial launch. We said, okay, how are we going to communicate this at a launch, but then what's our plan going forward? So we already have a plan for all of 2024 when it comes to engagement and communication and user experience, for example. And I think Degreed was there along, through the whole journey. Yeah. Still meeting with Degreed weekly, honestly, around our launch. So sure. That's been key to us overcoming the obstacles, but having all of the different players, all the different people is key, because we can't solve everything. There are things that are going to come up that we need, our colleagues from the business or from Degreed or wherever to help us out with.
Right, but everyone's got to be aiming the same direction to kind of accomplish those. Fantastic. Well, we'll get a few more questions to everybody. But Dimitri, love to hear from you. So Exynos Innovator of the Year, that just sounds cool. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your story and what you've launched this year.
First of all, thank you for this award. It's a recognition and a confirmation of our efforts, and it's just confirmed. But the direction we have chosen 2 years ago was a correct direction. And let me give you some historical context of this project. 2 years ago, Exynos experienced significant growth. We almost doubled our headcount. We are a fintech company, so we are most of these people we hired this 2 years ago were very experienced technical people with very unique sets of skills and knowledge. And as a result of this very fast organic growth, our structure became quite complex, quite mess, and we realized that there are a lot of people on different positions with different titles performing pretty similar jobs and functions. It was the first issue we wanted to address. Another thing was our approach to decision-making in terms of L&D. Mm-hmm. It was quite classic, and it was a reactive one. So it was based on the very specific requests coming from our employees or managers, or sometimes it was based on some gut feelings of the top managers. Like,
Sure.
we wanted to change it. We wanted to make our decisions more meaningful, and in order to do it, we implemented the following thing. So we developed our custom skill metrics taxonomy. We conducted skills assessment within the company. So we collected like 65% of, so we had 65% of the employees rated all the skills from their skill metrics. That means that we rated like 10 or 15 skills. And we had like 40% coverage of managerial ratings. We conducted the skills assessment, we analyzed this data, we created custom dashboards without any extra costs. We come up with some insights for this year, and we also integrated, we launched our internal career dashboard by integrating Greenhouse with Degreed. So we're just pushing our vacancies to Degreed environment, and this kind of align this skill assessment with some career path for our employees.
Yeah, fantastic. I think what's interesting about you on the panel is how many employees do you have? How many
employees? About 2,200. So we are not a big company.
Yeah.
So most of our people are located in Cyprus, like 1,000 of employees located in Cyprus. All the client-facing people are based in Malaysia, like maybe 700 people. And the third biggest office is in Uruguay.
Awesome.
But we operate globally.
Yeah, amazing to have that global. And I think there's companies of all sizes here, and it's awesome to see. You're a little smaller than that? No? Oh, I'm just kidding. Much bigger. So, you know, and having, you're in the middle, right? Yeah. So, but it's interesting to see, but when you're doubling your company, you know, regardless of size, in, like you said, such a short period of time, presents a lot of challenges. So you talk through some of those challenges. So where are you at today? Do you feel like you're taking a proactive approach? What's next? Do you have steps to go to fully achieve that, and where are you headed?
So first of all, we need to incorporate this process of skill-based assessment into all the HR processes.
Right.
So it should be in the basis of like career movement, of promotions, of rewards, etc. So we should really incorporate it in our processes. After that, we want to extend our possibilities in terms of the analytics. We want to collect more data about employees' performance and compare it against learning data, actually. Based on that, probably build some predictive models. But it's a kind of a further goals in terms of the analysis. And in terms of the content, we want to restructure everything, actually, in our platform right now, and we want to present a kind of academies, actually. Academies, yeah, it will be the great thing to implement this year. Actually, like catalog, split it into the different areas of knowledge, levels of proficiency, etc.
Right. But in order to implement academies, in order to implement those content pieces, you need the skills data, and you need to have that taxonomy in order to be able to drive people to that. You can do it in different orders, but it really helps set that foundation.
Yep, skills data in that case is literally a fuel. And it also helps us to identify internal experts. I didn't mention it before, but because of that exercise, we identified like 25 internal experts who are really experts. They're like the best people in their sphere. Some of them are the best in the world.
Yeah.
And we engage them into the peer-to-peer learning. All of them now creates their cards in Opportunity. So they propose our services for our employees, and they're also engaged into the content curation, into the conducting of some internal trainings on technical skills, etc.
Fantastic. Well, because you said greenhouse integration, I thought I could open up the panel to everybody here. Talk to me a little bit about your integration strategy. I hear that word all the time, and how data integration has helped build out your programs further.
we love integration. So we do. I think we do the new integration every half of the year. And yeah, greenhouse integration was very important for us. It was quite customized. It was a long-term project in the collaboration with Degreed integration team. Yep, now our vacancies are pushing to Degreed environment. Our recruiters are able to perform active search, so they can have a look who of our employees have the relevant sets of skills which fits the requirements of the specific positions, and they can actually send this proposal for the employees.
Yeah, fantastic. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess just quick context. When we launched Degreed back in, it was 2018, we were also launching Workday at the same time. And so the Workday Degreed integration was supposed to be phase 2, but phase 2 never happened. But it's happening this year.
Yes.
So I'm very excited about that. We have a lot of excitement about getting the integration active and going, and how that will lead to enhanced learner personalization, how it opens up doors to additional functionality in the platform like Skill Coach. Like everyone here, we are also trying to figure out the overarching skill strategy. We're looking at skills across the talent experience, from pre-boarding to onboarding to developing to growing, and we're trying to understand the various intersects of where we pick up that skill data, where the book of record for our skill data needs to be, and we see Degreed playing a big part of that on sort of more of that growth and development pillar in terms of having colleagues and managers rate skill in the application, and then focus on their growth and development there. So yeah, lots of work for us to do on integrations, but we're excited about it.
Awesome.
So for us, I mentioned we're new, right? So we're just getting started with this journey. We did work before we launched on ensuring our learning management system was integrated. So all of that data, all of those completions, everything that's people have done in the past have been migrated over. They can see all of that in Degreed, which is great. We also, at the same time we were implementing Degreed, brought on a couple of new content providers over and above what we already had. So those integrations were complete. The data is key, right? And we're still trying to figure it all out, because it's probably typical in many companies. There's different sources of data. So not a lot yet. We're working on what's in there already, still pulling from old places, but really focused on how we get one source of data for everything. So still definitely more to come for us.
I think we need a shirt that says I heart integrations, like Noel's the other day. That was great. All right, last question, then we'll try to open it up to the audience here. Kind of loaded. Are you going to compete next year? And what advice do you have for other clients looking to apply for the Visionary Awards 2025?
I'll go. So I hope so. And maybe we'll look at the different categories as well, right? Since technology we've implemented.
Yep.
So we'll definitely look at that. This was great for us, and we're really proud of it. So it's awesome. I would say just any advice, simple, like there's so much information that you have that can go into that application. I don't even think you realize how much you have. We kind of did it, I don't want to say last minute, but we did it quickly, and I was like, we're not gonna, and we had so much information based on the way we approached the project, the implementation, that it was kind of, hate to say easy, but easy to pull it all and refine it. So just, if you're thinking about applying, don't feel like you don't have it. You probably have the information you need for that application.
Absolutely.
Okay. So will we apply next year? I don't know. We'll see. Oh, so Leanne says yes, we will. Okay. The reason I said I don't know, we'll see, is because I was talking with Ray and Shell from State Street last night, and they sort of tongue-in-cheek said, we didn't apply this year because we wanted to give someone else the opportunity to win.
Yes.
No, but very quickly, I mean, follow the application's instructions. That's, fairly straightforward, but sometimes you don't follow them and you
it's part of the judging criteria.
Miss out on marks, right? So follow the application instructions, and then as best you can, highlight innovation and impact.
Awesome.
I think yes, we will apply next year, and I will explain why. So we just had a session about automation, and I'm very excited about it. So I think that it will give us so many new possibilities to streamline this current process of this skills assessment, to link it with learning, to link it with career movement, etc. And as soon as we've done it, we're gonna apply for the next award.
I love it. I love it. I love a good, healthy competition. That's awesome. We have a few minutes left. I think we can probably take one or two questions from the audience. I heard there's mic runners over there. Does anyone have a question? If not, Leanne, I'm calling on you. Oh, there, I see a question over here.
Hi, I'm Anna, and great to hear about how you have been implemented it. And I think one of the things I saw yesterday that caught my attention from the award slide was that you had also managed quite a bit of cost optimization on content. Am I right?
Which company was this for?
I think this was you.
Exynos, you said?
I mean, you had a 20% cost savings, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, I'm not sure if it was mentioned in the slides, but in my award application, we said that, and I can repeat it again. So it's too early to say about kind of investment return or about the influence on the profit, because we just implemented Degreed 2 years ago, and all this framework with skills assessment was done last year, so it affected to the learning goals of this year. So, and obviously it will give some benefits the year later, or maybe years later. What related to the cost savings? Yes, we expect to have cost savings this year, but we don't have actual cost savings currently.
David, Judy, any cost savings that you're looking at? How are you measuring ROI? It's one of the questions on the application.
Yeah, so we didn't call out specific cost savings as of yet, but I think what we did call out was the Future Now approach followed a philosophy of build once for many. And I know that that's probably something that resonates with lots of folks in the room. When we first launched Degreed back in 2018, we had businesses come to us and request, a pathway on change management, but change management for business X was slightly different than change management for business Y. And so, the Future Now program has enabled us to actually start living and breathing the build once, deploy for many philosophy, which has increased our efficiency, making sure our resources are, tacked to the highest priority work, and then also reduce content duplication and confusion for our learners. So there's for sure cost savings in there. We just need to roll up our sleeves and figure out what that is.
Yeah. Good data point for next year. All right. Judy, any thoughts there? It's early.
When we implemented Degreed, I mentioned we implemented additional content providers. So they kind of came as a package. And we definitely had a cost savings with a content provider we had that we didn't renew with in adding the new content providers. But I was just thinking of an example as you were talking, like something as simple as last week, somebody emailed me and asked me if we did Six Sigma Green Belt training. And I was like, if we sponsored it, which we don't, we used to do it way in the past. I jumped on Degreed, I did a search. Within 5 minutes, I went back. I was like, boom, 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 here's some information, and here's a place that'll even, that you can test for free twice and things like that. So while, like the others, we don't have anything yet, I expect to see cost and time, really. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, one more question. Yes.
Hi. I actually had two separate questions. One is around the experiential integration into pathways that you mentioned. Where did you source those experiential, those experiences from, and how did you integrate that into a 1 hour or less pathway? And then my second question, which is completely different, is when doing self-ratings, I'm wondering if you could talk to how you analyzed that for comprehension and compliance with the rating, and doing things like bias mitigation to build confidence in those results prior to activation.
Yeah, so the question is around experiential pathways, which, Dimitri, I think you did some of those, and self-skill rating. How did you mitigate it for self-bias, high validity, those types of things?
I'm going to start with the second question. When it comes to the self-ratings, obviously we trust people. We can't validate just a rating, but we have managerial ratings, and managerial rating is more prior when it comes to any decision making. This is the first point. Another point, we are trying to validate some of the skill ratings. For example, business English. And to do it, we created a custom integration. It's a small one. We're just receiving some data from the platform which conducts some assessment of English level skills for our new joiners. And it sends this data to this middleware. It's pretty simple script. And this script sends a peer rating to Degreed using API. So we assign peer rating, not the self, not the managerial one, but this one is already validated. And we're going to extend this practice to have more real assessments with real questions, real practical tasks, to take data from these assessments, conducting on the third-party platforms, and then using API, push with ratings into Degreed. So. And the first question was about the pathways. Could you repeat, please?
The experiential pathways that you built. We have 20 seconds.
So I can give you two specific examples. One was related to the last year. So in second quarter of the previous year, we defined a huge spike in search prompts, in the search query. People were looking for Golang for some reason, but we didn't have it even in our scope of technology. We dive into this situation and we realized that it was a project, and some of our developers they had to rewrite some legacy Python code into the Golang. And to do it, they had to learn basically a new language.
Right.
We identify this need before they jump to the task. So we come to the existing expert on the Golang. Together with him, we curated, if I'm not mistaken, one bigger plan and one pathway for those people who just want to reskill themselves. And this plan and this pathway became one of the most popular in our organization during last year. And another example is coming this week. Actually, we launched a new pathway. It's a blended learning pathway, actually. It contains real events and self-paced content as well, together with internal experts on SQL. And they already launched this first batch, first cohort this week.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, I could talk all day about this stuff, but I know we have planes to catch, we have places to be. So I just want to thank you all for being on the panel today, and thank you all for sticking around, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk soon.